The following program is a podcast1.com production.
Your healthy radio addiction starts now.
Power to the people!
The Laura Ingraham Show.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true.
You have said he bullied you. He called you Miss Piggy. What else did he call you? What were the names that he called you?
Miss Piggy, Miss Housekeeping, Miss Eating Machine.
All to your face?
Yes, all the time. That was really normal for him in that moment.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, you know, with 18 years old, when you are growing up, when you are the most beautiful woman in the world, that was horrible for me.
She could see from my face that I was flying high.
Do you think he's racist?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
What's the proof that you think he's racist?
You know, I listened a few comments from him when he was my boss. But I don't want to talk about it because it's something too much rude for the black community. And I respect a lot that things.
'Cause I'll never be with you.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. We have a lot to get to here in the program, and that was the former Miss Universe, Ms. Machado, who I guess was at one point had to lose weight because she put on some weight, and we're now talking about this. Well, I'm not talking about it, but I am telling you why this is being done. And remember at the debate, Hillary Clinton wanted to get this narrative going, right? Do you remember she introduced this at the debate? She introduced this idea that, again, Trump doesn't like women. Trump thinks if you're not a size 0 that you're not a real person. Trump is mean. Trump is bad. Trump is awful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hillary Clinton made sure to get that mentioned, even though the question wasn't directly asked. Right? But she knew that this would be a storyline that a complicit press would pick up. They already had Machado ready to go for interviews. This was all, and I would say disgustingly, although maybe they think effectively, choreographed. You listen to the show because I have a way of pulling the curtain back for you. So you look beyond the headlines. You look beyond the exasperation from the usual media, figures. You're able to look beyond that to see what's really going on here. And just so you understand this, I believe the media know that while Trump might not have scored all the perfect points at this debate that, frankly, people like myself wish he did, that the country is so over the Clintons and so tired of the corruption machine, tired of the political correctness, tired of the overspending, tired of the open borders, all the things that we know, tired of America being in decline, that even if Trump didn't come as prepared as some people think he should, that this might not change the polls. So what do they have to do? They have to get the election back to Trump is a bad person. Trump has bad temperament. Trump is mean to women. Trump is bad, bad, bad. Not that Hillary's record is bad, but that Trump is a bad person. And they have a complicit, disgustingly complicit media who will fall for that hook, line, and sinker and be they will be the assist for the Hillary campaign. They will be acting essentially as the Hillary super PAC, producing in a way ads. This is almost like a daily ad that is being aired in the form of news coverage for the Clinton campaign. We'll play for you a few sound bites from MSNBC this morning that indicate that how I'm laying this out for you, how I'm explaining this for you, is exactly right. Let's listen.
I got really angry about this yesterday. My daughters, my friends, every woman I know who has had issues with weight gain,
which is pretty much every woman you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And has struggled with these things, but we deal with it in a way that is personal and intimate and supportive of each other. And this was so humiliating.
It was so humiliating. This was a humiliating experience all those years ago. What year was it, by the way? What year was this thing? 20 years ago? So 20 years ago or so, I don't have the date in front of me. My boys know it. 20 years ago, a woman got heavy during the Miss Universe pageant and had to lose weight, and they videotaped her losing weight. Big deal. Big deal. It obviously has zero impact on today. No impact on today. None at all. So the humiliation, there's a lot of humiliation that's real, that's really going on. This Machado is a political actor right now. She is acting in a political capacity as a Clinton surrogate. She's not in agony over what happened 20 years ago. In fact, her own recent history, which the Daily Mail got into, and I'll get into this in a moment, tells you everything you need to know about her. Okay? But stay with me. The humiliation that BBC's Katty Kay was referring to there on the set of Morning Joe of this woman, because she had to lose a few lbs, because she had a weight clause in her contract. That's more significant to the pundits today than a woman like Juanita Broderick, who says she was raped by Bill Clinton. Remember Lisa Meyer's report back in 1998? Lisa Meyer's report for NBC Nightly News, when she sat and interviewed Juanita Broderick, and all of the analysis done at the time of whether her story could be corroborated, whether she was believable, whether she was credible, all unbiased observers and analysts at the time that I can certainly remember, and I was actually working for MSNBC at the time when this all came out, said there was no reason to question Juanita Broderick's account of this, because in real time she was seen as crying. Her face was all red. Her hair was messed up. The comment when Bill Clinton left the room and said, "You better put ice on that lip." And Juanita Broderick actually spoke tearfully about this. Kathleen Willey spoke tearfully about what Bill Clinton did to her. And Hillary Clinton did what as a result? Hillary Clinton condemned this as part of the vast right-wing conspiracy, but putting Hillary aside, because she was the aggrieved wife. How about the media today? Do you think Juanita Broderick was humiliated? Do you think Kathleen Willey was humiliated? Do you think Dolly Kyle was humiliated? Do you think Monica Lewinsky at age 22 and now in her 40s can even live a normal life after been taken advantage of by the President of the United States? What about that humiliation? That Hillary was complicit in all covering up. Was that humiliating? These people have no credibility on protecting women's rights. They don't protect them in the womb. They don't protect them when they're at the end of their lives. And they don't protect them when they're being savaged or brutalized by a liberal icon like Bill Clinton. So don't talk to me about how you're so concerned about a woman's humiliation. I would call them out on this morning, noon, and night. Juanita Broderick, let's remember her pain. Let's listen.
He starts to bite on my top lip, and I try to pull away from him. And then he forces me down on the bed. And I just was very frightened. And I tried to get away from him, and I told him no.
He told me no. Humiliation? Do you agree with me that this is the latest shiny object to divert and distract the American people and the American electorate who are fed up with this game. They're fed up with the demonization. They are fed up with the refusal for individuals in politics to be held accountable. They're fed up with the buck passing that goes on and happens in Washington, D.C. every day. Hillary Clinton does not want to be held accountable. But her surrogates in the media and her surrogates in the campaign will fly all over the country and go on every television station to say that Donald Trump should be held accountable for humiliating a woman 20 years ago. 855-40-LAURA. Do you understand how and why this is playing out? And why is it so critically important for Donald Trump not to step into this trap? Don't play their game. Don't play on their field. Don't answer these stupid questions. Call out the media for their complicit cooperation with the Clinton campaign, and call out the hypocrisy of these anchors and these media people who refuse to do the work of a journalist. They refuse to do it. I would work hard to make that point day in and day out and take it back to Hillary Clinton. Over the last 90 minutes of this debate, Lester, has said nothing or indicated in no way that she can revive this economy. She knows it, and I know it, and the American people know it. And now she's going to make it about Miss Universe? What universe is she living in? 855-40-LAURA. I'll tell you how Trump stepped in the trap, how he can avoid the trap, and what lies next in this very brutal campaign that's only going to get worse, which means the people who want to win have to get smarter. Don't go away.
I think he's crossed a certain line, and he's crossed many lines before that you would think would be irredeemable. Yeah. But this Miss Universe thing and this thing about women and weight and the way he objectifies women, we're going to start looking at pageants now. We're going to start looking at the language he's used.
And then he forces me down on the bed. And I just was very frightened. And I tried to get away from him, and I told him no.
Trump versus Hillary. Things are really getting heated as November approaches, and I want to help keep you informed on all the moves and counter moves and strategies coming from both sides of the election. You know, I used to work for Hillary, and I know what's going on from the inside, and I've known Trump my whole life. My dad was his lawyer. So listen to the Dick Morris Political Play-by-Play every week on podcast1.com, or you can listen on the go on the Podcast One app.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
She was the winner, and she gained a massive amount of weight. And it was a real problem. We had a real problem. Not only that, her attitude, and we had a real problem with her. So Hillary went back into the years, and she found this girl. This was many years ago, and found the girl and talked about her like she was Mother Teresa. And it wasn't quite that way, but that's okay.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. 855-40-LAURA. Trump, unfortunately, gave more life to this narrative yesterday on Fox and Friends, but he tried to put it, shunt it aside pretty fast. But nevertheless, that became, because he addressed it, then that sound became the narrative of the whole day. And even though he had a great appearance down in Miami, which we're going to be talking about, meeting with Cuban Americans, getting a rousing welcome down in Miami, a terrific rally as well in Florida. A lot of that stuff gets lost in the media effort to disparage him and distract from the failed Clinton record. I'm explaining this to you because I want you to see, once again, how critical it is for you to talk to your friends, educate everybody around you about what's really going on. If you're someone who is voting for the first time, you're under the age of 40, you won't know who Juanita Broderick is. You won't know, perhaps, that Hillary Clinton defended a child rapist as one of her earliest representations as an attorney. You won't know the name Kathleen Willey, and you won't know that Hillary Clinton, according to Juanita Broderick, actually visited her after this sexual assault and tried to intimidate her from speaking to anyone. Remember, the Clintons, Arkansas had all the power, And Broderick was just I think she was a campaign, low-level campaign staffer or worker. Drew, remind me of that. Look that up because I've forgotten what her actual role was. But she wasn't well connected or anything like that. But let's listen to what Juanita Broderick said about Hillary Clinton's visit to her after this sexual assault.
She was really squeezing.
Yes. She was just holding on to my hand. I mean, cold chills went up my spine. That's the first time I became afraid of that woman.
You interpret that to mean she knew about the incident?
I certainly do. And thank you for keeping quiet.
Yeah, in other words, thank you for not speaking about this to anyone, that Hillary Clinton was well aware of Bill's exploits, and in this case, his criminal conduct. We don't know if she knew about the criminal conduct, but she knew what she had done. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. Let's go to Mary Jo in New Jersey. Mary Jo, go ahead.
Yes, hi. Hi, Laura. Huge fan. Always watch every show you're on. My comment was, number one, about the 12-year-old rape victim that Hillary herself victimized. She victimized that girl in her defense of the rapist. And in reading an account of her life since then, she, her life was ruined. So that's, you brought that up just a few moments ago. But my other thing is, now that Ted Cruz has endorsed Donald Trump, the Trump campaign should reach out to Carly Fiorina. Mm-hmm. She is an attack dog on fantastic. Hillary Clinton. Yep. Woman to woman.
Great idea.
I mean, I love Carly, and I feel like she would be a huge asset and surrogate for him.
Absolutely. Great point. You're good for you, Mary Jo. I want you to be an advocate. I put you out there. Great point. I don't know where Carly Fiorina's thinking is, but I like that idea. By the way, just for everyone, so everyone knows what Mary Jo was talking about, because there's some true information out there about this and there's some false information. Here's what is true about Hillary. In 1975, she was a young lawyer, and she was appointed to represent a defendant who was charged with raping a 12-year-old girl. Now, Snopes.com says Clinton reluctantly took on the case, which ended with a plea bargain for the defendant, and later chuckled about some aspects of the case when discussing it years later. But what is false, they claim, is that Hillary Clinton did not volunteer to be the defendant's lawyer. She did not laugh about the case's outcome, and she didn't assert that the complainant made up the rape story. So that's, this is what we have to know about this. But well, I think you could say, right? I mean, as a young lawyer, you could say, I'm not doing this case. I can tell you, I was a young lawyer once back in 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996, and I'm still a lawyer. I don't practice law, but I'm still a lawyer. I still have my bar license. Someone asked me at a law firm saying, look, you have to take on this case. Drew, do you think I would have taken that case on? I'd be like,
that'd be a hard no.
I'd be like, well, here's what I have to tell you. No, and never.
Yeah.
How does never sound to you? And if you want to fire me, go ahead and fire me. I would never take on a case like that. You just got to look at yourself in the mirror. But the guy got a plea bargain, and obviously the victim's family thinks he was guilty. You're listening to your Healthy Radio Addiction. We have a lot more to get to. We'll get to the sound, how Trump avoids stepping in the trap moving forward. Being prepared for a debate doesn't mean you have to know every fact and figure, but it does mean you have to know how to pivot. Don't go away. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. We have a lot to get to. We're going to go to the lines here because I have so much to say about this new attempt to distract the media, the media's attempt to distract us, from what really matters in this presidential election, and how, moving forward, the pivot happens and you avoid the traps. When you're asked about something that happened in 1996 and it's referenced in a debate, you don't reference it. What you say is the equivalent of Reagan's, well, there you go again. There you go again. We're at this point again where, Hillary, you don't want to defend your own record. You have no ideas for America's prosperity. You have no idea how to stem America's decline all around the world. So you're going to obsess with a 1996 Miss Universe pageant, and they claim that I'm superficial? You have no answers, Hillary. I'd go right after her. Any attempt to distract the American people, I'd turn it on Hillary Clinton and make it another glaring example of how the woman is out of answers. But I'm telling you, I'm very happy about this development with Ms. Machado because it demonstrates what we were saying yesterday is probably true, that this performance by Donald Trump, if it was lacking in the type of pivots that we'd like and the staying on focus, it might not matter all that much to those undecided voters who are trying to figure out which way to go, because it looks like the momentum for Trump could continue despite this performance at the debate, which, again, I think he could have done a lot better. But I think they know that, and so they have to throw all this other acid onto what they think is the wound of the debate to try to get the African-American voters and the Hispanic voters repositioned away from Trump and away from his outreach. And to me, it's a sign of their utter desperation. Utter desperation. But I think this is a critical test for Donald Trump as well. I think we're going to find out whether he's capable of just not taking the bait. We'll see. I mean, he took a lot of the bait that was dangled in front of him at that debate. There's no doubt about it. And if this is the big leagues, if you show up at the Super Bowl, you can't have shown up at the Super Bowl without any training or without any, without any practice. You got to do the practice. They do these prep sessions, but you got to have the type of questions and the type of vicious asides that she is going to use and the media will run with. You have to practice that morning, noon, and night so your response becomes reflexive. And the reflexive response can't be taking the bait, which I think is what Trump usually does. The reflexive response has to be, aha, Hillary, once again, you don't want to talk about your record. Why are you so obsessed with things like birtherism, Lester Holt? Why are you obsessed? I put that issue to bed. Why are you obsessed with it? Oh, I get it, because you want to help Hillary. Oh, next question. I do that all morning, noon, and night. Let's go to John in New York on line 2. John.
Yeah, Laura, you know what a great idea he should do is outsmart the media by going with Sean Hannity live. Don't speak to anybody but your allies. Get with Hannity, do a live rally at, let's say Long Island. Hannity puts it on TV with 15,000 people there. Just start being smart to outsmart the media and use it to your advantage. Here's the problem. Your allies.
Yeah, but I think you don't go on dumb. Don't go on dumb television shows for sure. But he has to go to these debates, though. He's not going to not go to the debates. I appreciate the call, John. Has to go to the debates. Has to be conscious of what their goal is. Every question asked will be a question that is meant to embarrass you. Every question asked and every aside by Hillary is going to be designed to get you distracted and to put you on the defensive. Don't fall for it. Every time they ask you a question about some minutia that only someone who's a policy geek would know, make the point again about, I'm here to help the average American. I'm not writing a policy paper for the Heritage Foundation. I am here to tell you I'm on your side. We're going to bring back these jobs, and we're going to start doing the pragmatic, America-focused policy on foreign policy and domestic policy that works. Because what Hillary has tried has failed miserably. She knows it, and everybody is a sentient human being knows it, which is why she's trying to distract you on these side issues that don't affect your lives whatsoever. That's what he has to do. Let's go to JD in Nevada on line 3. JD, go ahead.
The gall of these Clintons is unbelievable. I
I would put, they should have left the sleeping dogs lay. I would now put Monica Lewinsky, Paula Jones, everyone forward, get them in the news, and if necessary, put them all in the front row of the next debate and let Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton see all of the past people that she has pulverized with her right-wing conspiracy, and really turn it into, if they want to play this dirty, then play dirty as heck back at them, because this is unconscionable. Going back 20 years and saying girls.
No. I've never. Yeah. Again, we knew that they were going to have these little things in their back pocket. They have hundreds of millions of dollars, JD, and we need to know this really, really brutally and clearly. Over the next 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is, 5 weeks left. The next 5 weeks, there's going to be one of these Ms. Machados every day. Every day. There'll be something like this. And it is incumbent upon the Trump campaign and the candidate himself to be so cognizant of that and so aware of that they are just trained on the big picture. The big picture is Washington corruption comes to an end with me. We're renewing this country. We're calling out the corruptocrats and the consultants and the pollsters and the lobbyists and all the big donors who've been getting their way, and this government is being returned to the people. We see what you're doing. We're on to you. You've had your chance. Now it's our chance. They need to know that this is happening. They need to not fall for it. They need to not give interviews on these stupid topics, and they need to expose the hypocrisy of these media figures and the candidate herself on women's, quote, issues. Because the last time I checked, an economy that actually spins off real jobs is a woman's issue. A government that is effective and sized in a manner that is not wasting money, that is a woman's issue. Healthcare is a woman's issue. Premiums that are skyrocketing is a woman's issue. Terrorism is a woman's issue. An open border that allows criminals to cross over and brutalize women, that's a women's issue. So we'll talk about women's issues, Hillary, morning, noon, and night. But you are a fraud on this issue because you've done nothing to help women. Their pocketbooks, their security, their safety, the foreign policy that women care about. You've done nothing to help these people. And now your campaign is like standing up and holding up this frankly another victim in all of this is Ms. Machado. She's just a victim in all of this because she doesn't even know enough to know how she's being used. Let's go to John in North Carolina. John.
Hey, Laura. Speaking of living in the past, one thing that Hillary's brought up constantly on the campaign trail, and she brought it up again during the debate the other night when Trump was going after for 30 years of failed jobs, no fiscal policy, and economy. She likes to say a lot of times, we had 8 years in the White House of great jobs creation. And as someone who has a lot of undecided friends, I was hoping you could kind of touch on how polar opposite Hillary and Bill's fiscal policies are. And number one, she had nothing to do with any success that he might have had with the economy when her biggest policy was Hillary Care, which is an abysmal failure. Well,
let me give you some facts that you can use with your friends. First of all, Hillary Clinton brought up her husband's economy at the debate. And she said, well, I think that economy was pretty good. My husband's. Well, remember how this all went down. It wasn't until Bill Clinton and the Democrats were shellacked in the 1994 midterms when the Republicans broke the 50-year drought of having a majority in the House of Representatives. Newt Gingrich comes into power, Speaker of the House. They force his hand on that midterm election. They force his hand, and he has to come out and say, basically, the era of big government is over. We were shellacked in this midterm election. The people are saying something that we weren't listening to. So Bill Clinton then goes forward and he does welfare reform, and he works with the Republicans, the conservatives on Capitol Hill. And back then it was Gingrich and even John Kasich working with them to actually put forth fiscal policies that was going to help the country. And that did happen. But it was not because Bill Clinton was campaigning on that and this was in his DNA. It's because he had to do it. And he made that decision. But the idea that Hillary Clinton as a feminist icon is now going to come out and try to take credit for Bill's economy, it's factually inaccurate, and it's a complete hypocrisy on her part. She's supposed to be a woman who stands on her own. Now she has to be rescued by the compliant and media and her husband. Oh, and Hollywood and Ms. Machado, all combined in one. She got to be rescued by all these people. I thought it was Hillary and Hillary alone who was going to save us. Is that helpful, John?
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Let's go to Clay, line 1. Clay in Missouri.
Hi, Laura. I just wanted to bring a point that I've heard very seldom mentioned, and the fact is that Hillary Clinton has been in the public domain all these years, and Donald Trump has been in the private. And the way that you're held accountable in the private sector compared to the public sector is completely different. He's acted as a businessman, and he's complied with the laws of the land and done what he needed to do as a businessman compared to her in the public sector. And she's supposed to be elected and taking care of our needs and our desires, and she's only acted on her own.
Well, yeah, and Trump could say something like, well, look, Hillary, as a businessman, I don't recall being interviewed by the FBI for 4 hours. But you, as the Secretary of State, were interviewed by the FBI for 4 hours. And your staffers, of course, what he did mention is they were given immunity. They claimed the fifth, that some of them were given immunity. And the FBI director had to concede that you misrepresented or downright lied on issue after issue after issue, as Trey Gowdy pointed out in his very effective questioning of Comey. So you're absolutely right. But again, this is what happens when you have a media who are in it with Hillary. When they all should have the Hillary button on. I'm with her. It should be MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CNN, CBS. I'm with her. They might as well have the button on because they are working for her. All right, we'll take a break. We'll reset this. Trump was in Miami yesterday, and again, the meeting, the sit down with Latino Americans. These are Cuban Americans. The reaction that he received, if you watched it, these were some great moments for Trump. He needs to stay on point, on message. Don't get distracted. Call them out for hypocrisy. Do what you did that sent Bill Clinton back on his heels some months ago when he pointed out what he had done to women over the years. And Bill Clinton shut up real quick after Trump laid a body blow against him. Maybe it's time to start bringing out those big guns again. Don't go away.
I can't believe that this is going to help him with women voters, because we circle the wagons when somebody talks about our own size and when somebody talks about our friend's size in that way. And I felt that video, particularly of him inviting the cameras in to watch her exercise, was the most grotesque exercise in humiliation of a woman I think I have almost ever seen on television.
Yeah. The single weapon that she's got is the media. Without the mainstream media, she wouldn't even be here, folks.
I'm here because I know this person and he's not a good person. That is the point. The point is no more abuse for us. No more abuse for the girls. If you gain weight, if you don't look the most beautiful girl in the world, you have your mind, you have your heart, you are strong, you are intelligent. And in the future, that ladies can be a president too. Why not?
You are listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. That's the former Ms. Universe, who claims to be fat-shamed by Donald Trump 20 years ago. Well, guess what? She was accused of threatening to kill a judge and being an accomplice to murder and a murder bid in her native Venezuela. Yeah, so that's her background. Court documents in 1998 revealed that she was accused of driving her boyfriend from the scene of a murder attempt at a woman's funeral. A judge also claimed on national television that she threatened his life. It's unknown if the Clinton campaign vetted Machado, now 39 years old, before the debate and the conference call with the press on Tuesday, which was almost all in Spanish. That you can't write how stupid they are on that. That if they didn't vet her story, her background, the woman's accused of killing a judge, and she's on television last night with Megyn Kelly. He's not a good person, she said. He's not a good person. Well, look in the mirror, sweetheart. And I can't believe actually Miss Universe, a Miss Universe is supposed to be in shape. That's an outrage. That if you're in a Miss Universe pageant, you're actually supposed to be fairly trim. Oh, that's a shock. Oh my gosh, how dare they actually ask her to be in shape? Let's go to Rebecca, Florida, very quickly. Rebecca, go ahead, my friend.
Hi, Laura. Gosh, I'm so glad to talk to you. You just hit on the first thing I thought of, and I'm not certain of the contest rules, but Miss Universe contest, it's body image. Secondly, after the contest, when they represent the contest, aren't they required to maintain a certain weight?
Yes, bingo, you're right. Let's go to Deborah, line 7. Deborah.
Yes, I'm voting for Trump, even though I'm upset with some of his comments about women, but I think I can talk about comments about women. I am the plaintiff in a landmark precedent-setting case called Katz versus Dole in 1983 that went to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and is taught in every law school to this day throughout the nation and was cited by the Supreme Court in 1998.
Oh, so you were the plaintiff in that case?
Yes, I am the plaintiff, and I can tell you all the history about that. And what I'm upset about Hillary Clinton is the travel gate.
Oh, travel gate?
Yes, because of what she drummed up charges on federal employees that they were mishandling travel.
Mm-hmm. Hold on a second. I want to talk to you off mic, but we're going to pursue this. That's very interesting. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. You heard that Katz versus Dole is a landmark case, 1983, Fourth Circuit case, Court of Appeals. We'll take a break. Don't go away.
Your Healthy Radio Addiction starts now.
Power to the people!
The Laura Ingraham Show.
For 90 minutes, on issue after issue, Hillary Clinton defended the terrible status quo, while I laid out our plan, all of us together, to bring jobs, security, and prosperity back to the American people.
He made it very clear that he didn't prepare for that debate. At one point he was kind of digging me for spending time off the campaign trail to get prepared, but just trying to keep track of everything he says took a lot of time and effort.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. Donald Trump down in Melbourne, Florida yesterday. An ebullient, I think, performance by Trump. He had a spring in his step. He didn't look like he was thinking he lost that debate at all. He was looking like he was a man with momentum. Hillary Clinton was gloating with her friends in the press and doing that fake smile thing she always does. But when you watched Trump yesterday, and they had some B-roll video of him sitting around a table in a room with Cuban Americans, and I'd say even the accounts of his meetings with this Hispanic town hall that he did, it was pretty over the top. After debate, Trump greeted like a hero by Cuban Americans from the Miami Herald. If Donald Trump got the sort of reception from all Hispanics as he did Tuesday in Miami, he might have this election in the bag. Trump's brief visit to Little Havana, billed as a town hall-style meeting with Latinos, turned into a love fest. One by one, fervent supporters lavished Trump with praise the day after Hillary Clinton seemed to get under his skin at their first presidential debate. Preliminary Nielsen estimates, of course, we now know that about 84 million people tuned in. People were screaming out to him, "Good job last night." And he said, "We did very well." It was an interesting evening. His Miami fans assured him that many more Hispanics share their admiration for him, even though polls show he's obviously struggling with that electoral demographic. Roberto Gonzalo told Trump several times. He started saying, "Mr. Soon-to-be President. Mr. President," said Alberto Delgado. Why isn't the Trump people making this a campaign commercial? This sounds like an amazing event. I'd like to have some audio from this. Polls show him lagging behind Clinton among Hispanics. In Florida as well, where Latinos now make up about 15% of the electorate, but a narrow majority of Republican-leaning Cuban Americans in Miami-Dade County prefer Trump, according to a recent Univision survey. And I think Trump seemed like he was somewhat overwhelmed by the crowd and by their reaction. About 150 people at this little meeting of his, and people were screaming Trump and USA. And one Venezuelan American spoke through a translator, others delivering impassioned endorsements of Donald Trump. I see the problems. I see them on the news every night. Trump said of Venezuela, and I've got so many old friends and new friends from Cuba, and they're very unhappy. I'm here to help. Basically, that was Trump's message. And they started giving him gifts, and this is actually, whoever came up with this idea, this was a good idea on the campaign. I like this. This is exactly what Trump should be doing outreach and showcasing his own ability to get along with people who are very different from him and have a very different life story, and his ability to motivate people and inspire people. We are going to talk with Craig Shirley coming up next hour on the Laura Ingraham Show. He's going to join us, and we're going to talk about what Trump and the rest of us can learn from going back and watching election night in 1980. I actually did this for, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I got like 2.5 hours sleep the night before, and I was up at well after midnight. And I could, when you start watching something, you just can't stop because it's so interesting and so good. So I watched I actually didn't watch all 6 hours, but I scrolled through the 6 hours of NBC News's election night coverage of the Reagan landslide victory. Oh my gosh, it was so fun to watch. It was just enjoyable, but lots of parallels to what you're seeing happening in the country today. The mood of the electorate, the desire for change, the need for inspiration and optimism while you deliver a sober assessment of what's happened to the country. Same thing was going on in 1980. Obviously, different time. It was 36 years ago. But people were sensing and understanding that America back then was in decline, and they needed a change agent, a president who was going to turn it upside down and reorient the entire political landscape, and that's what Reagan did. So we're going to be talking about that with Reagan biographer Craig Shirley coming up. Also, a lot of you calling in about the beyond obvious effort by Hillary Clinton and her enablers in the media to distract from her failed record in foreign policy and her failed and non-existent ideas in domestic policy, distract from all of that by going back to Miss Universe pageants in 1996. Talk about embarrassing. That is just, it's just beyond embarrassing. But it's predictable, because when you don't have a record to run on, you have to make the election a referendum on Donald Trump is mean or he has a bad temperament. That's all she has. And from now until Election Day, that will be their focus. That's going to be their focus. So next segment, we're going to talk to a woman who knows a little bit about Hillary's hypocrisy on the issue of women and the treatment of women. Kathleen Willey will join us in just a few moments. And we'll share with you some of the over-the-top sound bites from this morning's television, where a lot of these various pundits, all of them for the most part on the left, were just flabbergasted that Donald Trump, as an owner of a pageant, would think that Miss Universe should be in shape. They're flabbergasted by that humiliation of Ms. Machado. So there you have it. Then we'll get to your calls as well, 855-40-LAURA. And, okay. People want to get into this. All right. Well, Kim, okay. My guys want me to go to the callers because we have so many people on the line, and you've been patient, and I don't want to wait until the third segment to try to squeeze you all in. Kim in Florida, the all-important state where Donald Trump is actually slightly ahead in some key polls. Kim, go ahead.
Yes, he rocks. But I have to tell you, this media hypocrisy, it's just got my blood boiling. But I actually think it's a gift that's been handed to us on a plate, because I cannot believe it not only shows that they don't want to talk about the issues and that they are in the bag for Clinton, but he can turn it around on them. 68% of the population is overweight and obese. 0% of the newscaster population is overweight and obese. They're like that. I cannot even believe that they gave him this gift.
Oh, that's actually... Okay, Kim, so let me rephrase. Don't go away. Stay on the line. So what you're saying is that all these people on television are all beautiful. They're all good looking. Most of them, of course. They're all attractive. Let's say they're all attractive. When is the last time they hired a truly obese person to be a presenter on the news? Great point. Oh, my gosh, that is hilarious.
It is, but, I mean, it's a gift. It's an absolute gift to them. And I hope they're listening, and I hope they use it. And that is coming from someone who's a little fluffy, too. And, you know, I'm sure that 68% of us would love to be represented on the news, and we're not. So there you go.
Oh, and remember, by the way, it was a couple of weeks ago, how Trump was talking about how he could lose a little weight. Remember, he was just laughing about that. And yeah, he could lose a few lbs. He doesn't eat right. He doesn't have time to exercise. He doesn't really exercise at all. I don't think he's exercised for decades. And I think his kids get on him for that. And kids do. And you do that with your family. But he laughed about that. We played that soundbite. He was getting self-deprecating on how it would be good if he could lose a few lbs. Well, tell me about it. As we get a little older, let's just face it, our metabolism changes, does it not? So you have to work harder to stay in shape. So wait a second, I'm going to drop and give you 50 push-ups right now. Let's go to JoJo in Virginia, where Hillary Clinton. You know what? I can't believe that Hillary Clinton has a 6-point or 7-point lead in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's just depressing. How can Virginians fall for this nonsense from Hillary? Go ahead, Joe.
They're not Virginians. They're folks who have moved down from New York and live just outside the Beltway.
A lot of immigrants,
that aside,
too.
Yeah. Well, you could call them that. Mm-hmm. I think Trump needs to ignore any and all personal remarks. And when she starts talking about what she's going to give people or invest, remind people that actually means tax, and tout his own record of hiring tens of thousands of people of all flavors, stripes, political parties, unions, non-unions, and everything else. You don't lay a brick in the city of New York unless you're dealing with the union.
Oh, God, corrupt. Beyond corrupt. Well, I think you're on to the point of how you win a debate and you win elections when the elections are decided on your terms. So it is incumbent upon an outsider like Trump to always pivot back to the issues that matter to the American people. And I think he did a really good job of this throughout most of the debate. And I'm not going to concede for 1 minute that Hillary Clinton wins a debate when on the number one issue that people care about, jobs and the economy, she had zero to offer. Her big thing that she had to offer at that debate was, we're going to be the 21st century green energy revolution country. We're going to have solar and, oh, please. You're going to have Solyndra. That's what you're going to have. That was her big idea. Okay, that was her idea. We're going to have the green energy revolution, and that's going to be her economic plan. We all know that that's farcical. So she had zero to offer, nothing. And so on that measure alone, Donald Trump won that debate because that's what people care about. He has much more credibility in helping set the atmosphere for job creation when he himself, as a private businessman, has created thousands of jobs. So I wouldn't concede that at all to the Clinton people. And the Washington Post today is shameless. Clinton builds on debate gains. Hits Trump over Miss Universe remark. They should just be ashamed of themselves at the Post as well, but they have no shame. We'll take a break. Kathleen Willey on deck. Don't go away.
One of the worst things he said was about a woman in a beauty contest. He loves beauty contests, supporting them and hanging around them. And he called this woman Miss Piggy. Then he called her Miss Housekeeping because she was Latina. Donald, she has a name.
Where did you find
her
this?
name
Where
is
did you find
Alicia
this?
Machado.
Where did you find
and
this?
she has become a U.S. citizen, and you can bet she's going to vote this November.
I think he's crossed a certain line, and he's crossed many lines before that you would think would be irredeemable.
Yeah.
But this Miss Universe thing and this thing about women and weight and the way he objectifies women, we're going to start looking at pageants now. We're going to start looking at the language he's used.
Oh, my God. I honestly, that's just embarrassing. We're going to start looking at pageant comments. Our country is in peril. We are seeing Americans' dreams go slowly down the toilet. Job insecurity, savings insecurity, insecurity when it comes to terror. Concern about educational standards, concern about the ability to pay out-of-pocket costs for health care. And the media are focusing on Miss Universe, who gained a few lbs, and how horrible it is for Donald Trump to have thought she should lose weight. This is craziness. And these are the same people, by the way, who say that Trump has no substance. Who's guilty of that? The media or Trump? Last time I checked, Trump was giving speeches about trade and immigration and terrorism and foreign policy and going to Mexico and doing all the other things he's done, which they refuse to delve into and cover to the extent that they should. And instead, they want to focus on this. Everybody sees through it. I think more people just discount what these people are saying. Joining us now, Kathleen Willey. Everybody knows Kathleen from the 90s when her name first came to the fore after she recounted her own story of being groped by Bill Clinton after the death of her own husband by suicide, and she worked in the White House. She knows a little bit about the real humiliation at the hands of the Clintons and how Hillary didn't just enable her husband, but helped put down the quote bimbo eruptions that, as they so affectionately referred to the victims as. Joining us now, Kathleen Willey. Kathleen, first of all, it's really good to talk to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Laura?
I'm fine as long as people stop stepping in obvious traps.
I know.
But let's talk about this the media caterwauling about the humiliation of Ms. Machado when these same media people brush off the narrative that you and Juanita Broderick and so many of the others shared about the treatment that they received at the hands of the Clintons.
Well, let me just point one thing out, and I don't think a lot of people have focused on this, but Hillary likes to call Donald out for shaming women, calling them names, repeating the names he called them. Let's remember one thing. Hillary Clinton has called me a bimbo for the last 19 years. Now, that's been going on for a long time. She started with the bimbo eruption. Those were her words. It started years ago in Arkansas. So she doesn't have a whole lot of room to talk about who's calling women names.
Well, Kathleen, when did she call you a bimbo?
Well, she referred to us as bimbos in the bimbo eruption. She referred to all of her surrogates all referred to us as bimbos. Look at James Carville, look at Bagala, look at Stephanopoulos. They all called us bimbos. They called us sluts. They called us whores. They called us every trailer crash. Look what they did to poor Paula Jones. And this has been going on for years and years and years and years now. I mean, if you put our names up there, you ask somebody, word comparison, you put our names up there and you ask somebody a word to describe it, it's probably going to be, unfortunately, bimbos instead of victims of Bill Clinton. And she's okay with that. She just hasn't called off her dogs when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. But I think the fact that they're going back to a beauty pageant in 1997 just shows to me how desperate they are. It just shows to me how desperate they are. Donald Trump runs beauty pageants. There's nothing wrong with that. This woman entered a beauty pageant. Nobody forced her to. She knows what the rules are. She knows that she has to stay in shape. She knows that it's important to look good. Nobody forced these rules on this woman.
No, this
she entered into this contest voluntarily.
The woman,
you have to follow
the
the
woman,
rules.
Kathleen, was on Megyn Kelly, and she seemed she was being used by the Democrats. She was enjoying her few minutes of fame. But it's not about her. It's about you're right, the desperation of the left. They see this thing slipping away. Their record is in tatters, and they want to do anything to avoid actually having to defend Hillary's corruption, and they're just not going to do it. But
how would you like to get access to 10,000 new and archived episodes from your favorite podcasts? Plus exclusive interviews from iconic names like Seth MacFarlane, Bryan Cranston, Kevin Costner, Michael Moore, Seth Rogen, and many others. And it'll only cost you 14 cents a day.
Are you kidding?
Then you want to join Podcast One Premium. It's all available on demand right now exclusively at PodcastOne.com. Premium members have access to exclusive bonus content from hosts like Adam Carolla, Shaq, Heather Dubrow, Nick Ritchie, and more. They also get to participate in giveaways and members-only community events. If you're a premium member, you can even become a featured writer in the fan blogs. It's entertaining, affordable, and mobile. But that's not all. If you subscribe for a 2-year membership, you'll get a $50 gift card. So don't wait. Join Podcast One Premium now. Go to PodcastOne.com and click on Premium.
Here we come, walking down the street. Hey, we're
Butt monkeys.
and people say we monkey around. But we're too busy singing to put anybody down.
But I don't think this is a ridiculous idea. Something funny was going on with Trump last night. Do I think it's a cocaine? Probably not. But, you know, again, the sniffling, the grandiosity, the delusions, the pressured speech. You know, this guy's already proven himself to be unstable. The question is, why is he unstable?
We're just trying to be friends.
you are listening to the Laura Ingraham Show. Delighted you're with us. 855-40-LAURA. This is how desperate they are. Howard Dean. Now, we have another soundbite. This was from Morning Joe yesterday. And they were referencing the sniffling, the kind of that Trump was doing during the debate. He was doing that a lot. And this is a man, I think, who either had, I think he has never had a drink in his life. He certainly doesn't drink alcohol, and he's talked about this at length. His brother was an alcoholic and died due to complications of alcoholism, and his kids don't drink. None of them drink. But Howard Dean on national television speculated that this could be a Trump drug problem. Let's listen.
You can't make a diagnosis over the television. I would never do that. But he has some interesting. That is actually a signature of people who use cocaine.
Okay, no. I can't. It's another butt monkey. This is a double butt monkey. I can't make a diagnosis over the television, but, well, of course, he's a doctor, too. But this is a sign of somebody who uses cocaine. Will this become a question in the next debate? When did you stop beating your wife, sir? When did you start using cocaine, Mr. Trump? I mean, this is how pathetic the media have become. And anyone who gets on national television and is allowed to say that should never appear on national television again. Oh, yeah. He's a good one to talk, by the way, with his famous donkey, dean-key scream, where he looked like an insane person and sounded like someone who had already been committed. I mean, he's the last person who should comment on people looking or sounding a certain way. That's a great point. One of the issues, by the way, that wasn't addressed at the debate, which is, I mean, to me was exceedingly frustrating, was the issue of refugees. And think about the polling on this, which is so devastating to Hillary Clinton. The polling that the Hill wrote a piece about this. It was a Gallup poll that came out in August. And the public overwhelmingly is saying no to more refugees. They don't want the refugees. They see the complications, the problems, the inability to vet. And so the public doesn't want these refugees. And yet there's not a single question asked about this. And this is at a time where we've had this these series of attacks by people who were either naturalized U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Remember of course, the attack the attempted attack in New York, the bombing. Then you had the mall attack, he was from Afghanistan. Then you had the mall attack in Washington State, and that was a Turkish national who's now a permanent resident. And you've had other people who've come in from other countries, and they have legal status, given legal status by the government. You had the San Bernardino killer and his new bride, who was brought in on a fiancé visa, where she committed fraud on the application because she gave an address that, remember, it didn't exist. Her home address was actually not an address that existed. So we're allowing people into the country who have a very different worldview, not on minutia, but on fundamental issues of pluralism and freedom and individual rights and so forth. And what happens in the internet and radicalization and everything we know what's out there now is they become these little ticking time bombs. And we're supposed to all suffer as a result. We're supposed to all suffer because they think America just has to have a perpetual open door to anyone who calls himself a refugee. By the way, Jay Johnson was out there yesterday, the day before, saying, no worries. The refugee problem, it's, 10,000 here, 10,000 there? Let's listen.
I'm satisfied and comfortable that we put a lot on this process with a lot of additional security, a lot of additional person power, and I know for a fact that an awful lot of the 10,000 are families, women and children who are fleeing violence, fleeing terrorism, and will be honest, hardworking people in this country.
Yeah, because it's always worked out perfectly, and it's working out perfectly in Europe, where Angela Merkel now says it was a huge mistake. She regrets the process for letting in all these migrants and refugees across her borders. It's overwhelming the social welfare system. It's overwhelming their ability to assimilate people. Sweden is now deporting people. Finland says about enough is enough. Poland has permanently closed their doors. Europe is facing a massive cultural genocide because of this refugee problem. And the people know it, and the elites are still, for the most part, sticking their heads in the sand. Joining us now, and I'm delighted he's with us, an old friend. John Zmirak is a senior editor of The Stream. He's been investigating this for us, and he joins us now. John, were you surprised that this issue didn't come up in this debate?
I was disappointed. I think it's important that people say so-called refugees, by the way, because the moment someone leaves a dangerous setting and goes to what international law calls the first safe country, they cease to be a refugee. They are then a migrant. Everyone who made it out of Syria into Turkey was not a refugee anymore. They're migrants. And that's important because the word refugee opens our hearts. It makes us think of World War II. It makes us think of people being strafed by German bombers. It's not accurate to describe economic migrants leaving Turkey or Jordan and going to Sweden and Denmark to go on welfare as refugees. Likewise, anybody who gets to America from the Middle East passed over 7 or 8 or 10 safe countries, many of them majority Muslim, where they should have taken refuge. I read about this a lot in my new book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Catholicism. We have a whole chapter on the abuse of immigration and its abuse by churchmen, by bishops, by so-called Catholic leaders.
Well, we've had U.S. government officials, correct, say that ISIS is trying to use the refugee population to work their way into Western Europe and to work their way into become agents for destruction in free societies. This has been recognized. Was it the head of the DNI? I can't remember who said it, or Comey. Someone testified on Capitol Hill and said, and they admitted this is what ISIS is trying to do.
A major British counterintelligence figure, a lieutenant colonel, estimated it as 15% of the migrants from the Middle East have some ties to ISIS. 15%.
15%? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they have ideological compatibility with the goals of ISIS, or
no,
how does that?
He thought they were people who had some personal or organizational tie or family tie to ISIS. I can't check that figure, but it was a major British counterintelligence figure, a lieutenant colonel. I can send you the link. I was shocked by it myself. It appeared in the, I think, the Times of London or the Spectator. It was a mainstream source. It's not that surprising that people who have a religious commitment to Sharia law will find when people put Sharia law into effect, that they have some connection to it. Saudi Arabia and their enactment of Sharia law, it's just a cleaner, more organized form of what ISIS does. They both execute homosexuals. They both execute women accused of adultery. They're really not all that different. Saudi Arabia just has a lot of oil money.
There are pieces that I've been reading recently about how much turmoil the migrant population, they like to call themselves refugees, but as you said, they're migrants, crossing in without applying for official refugee status, which the official way of doing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, the official way of becoming a refugee in the United States is you must apply from your home country, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
And in asylum seekers, I believe you can seek asylum once you've already crossed into the United States. But a refugee, there's a very specific process for becoming a formal refugee. Now, our government is just going to declare people refugees before individuals have even applied because of the enormity of the problem. But nevertheless, in Greece, for instance, the New York Times wrote this piece yesterday or 2 days ago. The plan to let migrant children attend school enrages many Greeks. And of course, they're going to put the spin on it that the Greeks are terrible people for not wanting these Muslims in their schools. But they're starting in October because they go back to school in October there. But there's an outpouring of fury coming from the working class throughout Europe who themselves have not found a lot of economic prosperity of late, and who are growing increasingly sick of the government telling them, well, guess what? We have to suck it up, and you're going to probably have an overcrowded school, or you're going to have to pay more in taxes because this is just our duty to take all these people in. And I'm telling you, from what I'm reading, this is going over like a lead balloon over there.
This is mass colonization. I call this the Islamic colonization of the West. It's up there with when the Europeans landed in North America. And I think that these so-called leaders who are enabling this for their own political benefit, or maybe because their bishop told them it's the Christian thing to do, or for whatever reason they want votes, they're going to be seen as like those Indian chiefs who sold their land for a few bottles of liquor and some rifles from the white man. It is just staggering. I read that one in four or one in five people in the city of Brussels under the age of 10 is Muslim.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in Germany, what are the statistics in Germany? I mean, a huge percentage of children under the age of 2 in Germany
right. They have 5 and 6
Muslim.
and 7 and 8 kids. So the Europeans are not having any children, and they're not getting married, and the Muslims will they'll be fruitful and multiply. This is some of the comments from this the Greek citizens' reaction to this putting hundreds of these migrant children into the public school system in Greece. 57-year-old retiree waiting to collect his 2 granddaughters outside the school. He said he's opposed to admitting these refugee children. I don't like it. What happens if we have an epidemic? I don't want them here, he added, saying the youths from nearby refugee camps steal bicycles and are jumping into our backyards. And another woman whose children attend the same school, she led the association of the parents who were saying that they're not thrilled about this. She said this image of us as a racist municipality is unfair, referring to the whole area of Greece where this is happening. We are not racist. We're concerned about whether all the right precautions have been taken. Again, people are being made to feel, John, that if they're a citizen and they're expressing their rights as a citizen of whether our nation or some of these nation states in Europe, that they're racist, they're xenophobes, and they're bad people. And they're saying, no, we're actually Greeks, and we believe the Greek culture should be preserved.
That's right. The Greeks, remember, were colonized and oppressed by Muslims for hundreds of years. They only got their independence after bloody rebellions and civil war in the 19th century. And now they're being asked to accept another Muslim occupation. Large sections of Europe were under Muslim occupation, the Ottoman Empire, for hundreds of years. And only in the late 19th century were they free, and now they might be enslaved again because people like Angela Merkel and some of the bishops and church leaders are trying to impose this on them in the name of a false humanitarianism. I actually spend about 30 pages in the Politically Incorrect Guide to Catholicism debunking the idea that Christian charity requires open borders. In fact, it requires peaceful society, order, justice.
Yes.
You can be kind, you can be charitable, but that not if it undermines the rights of the poorest, most vulnerable people in your society.
Right. When the Catholic Church, John, when the Catholic Church gives away all of its land to the Muslim refugees and lets them all live there and drops its walls, and then I'll be really impressed. But I'm sorry. Pope Francis on this issue is certainly not speaking to the concerns of good people who just want a better life for their children. So I completely agree with you. John Zmirak, author, Politically Incorrect Guide to Catholicism, and also the senior editor of The Stream. John, thanks for staying on this issue for us. We really appreciate it. We'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show, get to all of your calls. What issues were not raised at the debate that should have been, and we hope will be raised next time? LifeSet has a piece out about the starkest examples that were left out and the issues that were left out of this debate. So I want you to go to lifeset.com. It was one of the most read pieces on LifeSet. Yeah. I want you to go to lifeset.com throughout the day. Download the app. It's very cool. You'll love it as much as I do. Up next, 1980 victory speech by Reagan. What can we learn?
Thanks for listening to the Laura Ingraham Show podcast. Download new episodes every week at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this. When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
AP Update. I'm Tim McGuire. FBI Director James Comey says for now, his agents just don't have a way to figure out if there's been an increase or decrease in police use of force.
I don't know whether there's an epidemic of violence. My instincts tell me there isn't, but I don't know. I can't tell you whether shootings involving people of any different color are up or down or sideways, and nor can anybody else in this country.
The director, in testimony before the House Judiciary Committee, says a database that would track such incidents will be in operation in a couple of years.
That will allow us to know what's going on in this country so we can have a thoughtful conversation and resist being ruled by individual anecdotes.
Republican lawmakers also asked Comey why the Justice Department had granted immunity to multiple individuals involved in Hillary Clinton's private email server, and why he then recommended against bringing charges.
This was done exactly the way you would want it to be done. That said, questions are fair. Feedback is fair.
AP Update. I'm Tim McGuire.